Today we're going to see recall healing, the version of recall healing for intraductal breast cancer. So when we pay attention to intraductal breast cancer, we need to think about the basic also that we cover in recall healing before working with a client. So the first thing that I ask everybody who do recall healing is to make sure that we keep in mind the rocket. Rocket is the connection between the psyche, the mind, the biological brain, and the body, the organs. Right? So once that is covered, we know that we will use after that the project purpose, what happened to the parents 18 months before birth, including the first year of the life of the child. We also consider the life timeline from now backward to the moment I was born. So if the woman today has intraductal breast cancer, it is an expression of a conflict that happened in her life. So this is why it's important to study her life timeline. And then we also consider what happened in the family clan 3 generations above. So we call that building up a puzzle. And the puzzle in recall healing is the life timeline, the project purpose, and the family clan. So that's going to be the areas of exploration where we will discover the conflict for a woman who has developed an intraductal breast cancer. So when we study intraductal breast cancer, we consider, of course, the breast. And we know the breast of a woman, we pay attention mainly, let's say, to the milk gland and also to the ducts. And we compare the milk glands to the love I have for the people I love, and the ducts of the breast as a channel that bring my love to the milk gland, to the nipple. And the nipple represents the part where the people I love can come to drink my love. Okay? So we will pay attention to that as we talk. When we say breast condition, we talk about home nest. What is going on inside of my home as a woman? What is my home? It's where I have my nest with my children, my husband, sometimes my relationship with my mother. So we consider that. So when we say male gland, we talk about a drama. For a woman, what does she do with her breast? Forever around the world, the breast of a woman is for her partner and for her children. For her children, her as a mother as well. Okay? So, and when we try to help a woman to heal from any breast condition, one thing that is very important is to ask the mother, the woman, to make her talk about her own relationship with her mother. We discover in many circumstances when a woman has a breast condition is how was she mothered by her own mother? And just making talk about that contributes highly to help the woman to release her breast condition. So this is not banal, this is very important. When we say male gland, we know the male gland are made of all mesodermic tissue controlled by the cerebellum. And the purpose of cerebellum is to provide protection and integrity to who? To my child, to the people I love. So the conflict of the male gland is a drama for people I love, my partner, my children, or the people I really care for. Okay? And then the ducts of the breast, we say the ducts are made of ectoderm. The ectodermic tissue also produces the skin. So we say the ducts are ectodermic like skin. And the skin's ectodermic like skin is controlled by the cortex. Cortex takes care of the relationship with others, but also to be in contact with others. So the skin and the ducts will express separation. So you'll see that when a woman has an intraductal breast cancer, we will see it's a repair phase of the conflict of separation with someone that she loved in relation to her homenness, children, partner, or somebody that was like that in her life. After that, we will talk about other possibility, a real, symbolic, imaginary, or virtual. So, but that's going to be the framework of this talk. Okay. So when we talk about skin, we say it's an organ to be in touch, in contact with others. I'd like to say that I'd like to understand the skin first before talking about the ducts. You know, if you're a baby, normally we integrate the baby, the baby integrates the contact with his mother at the level of the skin. All babies of the world cry to be in contact with their mother. From the moment they're in contact with their mother, they feel safe. So the moment the baby is not in contact with his mom, it's like if there's a danger for my survival. So imagine a mother that is in contact with her baby. Let's say she has to go the other side of the world for 2 weeks. She cannot bring her baby because it's too dangerous. So she gives the baby to her nanny. And then the mother leaves. Let's say the baby has integrated this part here as a contact with mom. For 2 weeks, the baby will lack the contact with his mom. And now think about the rocket. If the contact with his mom is so important and I miss it so much, my brain will say, okay, I will help you. The brain cannot bring the mother back. But the brain, in my example, will produce a micro-ulceration of the skin, like if the brain wants to stretch the skin to reach out mom. Because the brain cannot act on the others. Okay? So now, 2 weeks later, my mother comes back. Remember, I have 2 weeks of micro-ulceration of that part here. Now, as soon as my mother comes back, she takes me, and then the contact is reestablished, and I feel safe, I feel good, and now we'll go into repair phase. And I become hot. I have symptoms. People think I'm ill because I'm red. So now I will go to hospital because I'm red, and then I have fever, and then here's red, and then the doctor will diagnose eczema. We say eczema is a repair phase of a conflict of simple separation with one person. So, and then over time, my fever disappears, and then sometimes I keep the eczema. So, and then normally we say an eczema will give you a good ointment. And some kids, they keep their eczema for years. And if somebody knows this, at the moment of when the eczema first appears, if we say to the mother of the baby, what happened to that baby? If the mother, most mother would say nothing. But if she said, oh, you know what? I went away, and when I came back, my child developed that. Oh, how did you feel to let your child behind you? I felt disconnected from my child. I missed my child. I went the other side of the world. And now when I came back, I was so happy to reconnect with my child. And certainly, your child, madame, experienced the same thing. So he missed you. And then, from the moment you came back, the contact was reestablished. Oh yes, and when the mother reconnects with that, few days after that, the eczema of the babies disappeared. Okay, it's quite often like this, and I have some pictures I could show you. And so now the ducts of the breast have been created over the evolution by an invagination of the skin around the nipple. So we said that ducts of the breast are not like skin, are not the skin, but they are made of the same tissue, ectoderm, controlled by the cortex. So this is why when a woman experiences a separation from a partner, from her lover, from the father, and from her husband, or she experiences a separation with a child. You know, you have many children that when they grow up, they are in revolt with mom, and mom, she would like to keep the same relationship than before, and then the child pulls away from mom, and now she feels separated from the child, okay? So now, what's going on? The duct is a channel, okay? And in that channel, you have a space where the milk goes through. Remember, the milk gland produces my love, and the milk is like the love that I have for people I love. If the people I love pulls away from me, my husband separates from me, my child is in revolt against me, I miss my child, so I still love them. So my brain wants to help me to store the love I have for them. So my brain will produce a micro ulceration inside of the duct to enlarge the diameter of the duct. So I can contain more milk, I can contain there in reserve the love I have for people I love in case they come back. So now, how long does last the feeling of separation with these people? Okay, so this is also extremely important to determine with a woman. Also, you know, let's say many women at the time they experience separation with a partner or with their child, they don't feel any symptoms in their dog during the conflict active phase of the separation, like the eczema. Okay, it's a micro-ulceration, and I don't even notice that I have that. I don't even see it unless I have a giant microscope. So now, let's say to make a long story short, let's say a woman feels separated from her partner. He cuts the link with her and he moves out for, let's say, 3 months. She misses him dearly and she still loves him. During the time she has these feelings, she feels separated from him. So you understand, micro-ulceration of the duct. Right? And then, let's say he comes back 3 months later and says, "Oh, darling, please, I apologize. Take me back. I love you so much." She loves him so much. She suffered so much to feel separated from him. Now that she accepts him back, what happened to her? She will go into a repair phase of that conflict of separation because now the contact has been re-established. Yes, how does the brain repair inside of a duct? The brain cannot produce an eczema inside of a duct, but the brain produces a ductal carcinoma to rebuild the inner wall of the duct. And when the inner wall of the duct has been repaired, the brain commands the ductal carcinoma to disappear the way it came. Okay? That's the normal process if that process has not been disturbed by other stress, we can say. Okay? So let's say after a week or two, that reparation, some women start to feel a pinch, start to feel something weird going on here. And if the separation has been not so important, the reparation is almost banal, and sometimes the woman doesn't even notice it. But if the feeling of separation has been important, the reparation is important. This is why we say even intraductal invasive carcinoma. It's like the brain to repair the duct in a turbo function as quick as possible, so with intensity. So now, if the repair phase is important and the woman goes to see her doctor and he makes a test, he will discover the intraductal carcinoma at that moment. Okay? So now, what's the problem? Will we make a diagnosis to that woman of intraductal carcinoma? So if, as therapists, as healthcare professional, we say to that woman, you have a cancer of the breast. What does that mean in our mind, intraductal breast cancer? So we learn in recall healing and biologica that what is vital from the moment comes to see a healthcare professional with a diagnosis of intraductal breast cancer. We need to know what happened in her mind at the moment she heard the diagnosis, intraductal breast cancer. What does that mean? Because for at least the last 60 years in our system, intraductal breast cancer, the word cancer means I'm gonna die. It stresses highly people. Right? So now we have learned from Dr. Hammer that when we hear the diagnosis from the doctor, we heard that 90% of the diseases and 100% of the aggravation are the consequences of the conflict of the diagnosis. Why? Because from the moment I received the diagnosis, I start to imagine the worst in my mind. Not just that, since we go to see the doctor when we're young, remember when you're young, you're a child, and then your parents, they bring you to see the doctor, and your parents say, hey, listen to the doctor. If the doctor tells you to do something, do it, and you will have a good, healthy life. Now for the child that observes his parents, if for the child the parents are already God, if for my parents the doctor is God, now for me as a child the doctor is Almighty. And now that belief goes into my subconscious. Later in my life, when I receive a diagnosis from my doctor, what does he tell me? He will tell me something, and now for me is God telling me something. So what the doctor has in his mind at the moment of the diagnosis, I will give him. Quite often, if in his mind I die, I'm in a big danger of dying, because I will give him what God wants me to accomplish. Okay, that's what it means. It's not banal. And all of what you need to do at this moment is to make the woman, in the case of intraductal breast cancer, we need to make her talk about how did you feel when the doctor told you your diagnosis. Which word did he use? Okay, what image did you have in your mind? I'll give you a simple example. One day a woman came to see me with a double intraductal breast cancer, 42 years old. And then she was going 3 weeks later for a total breast removal, and she was in complete panic. And I asked her, I named her name, I asked her, which word did the doctor use when he told you your diagnosis? So she couldn't remember very well. And I said, what image did you have in your mind at the moment of the diagnosis? She couldn't recall. And I pushed her, and there's a moment she became upset at me because I pushed her very much. And then suddenly she has a flash. She is in a blue coffin, and everybody is around her in the coffin with flowers, and they sing a song. And then she sees herself leaving the coffin, going to heaven to reach her father where he is, because he died a few years before. Okay? So that's the flash she has. So if we don't squeeze that and we don't make her talk about that, right, it's going to be one of the reasons why she doesn't heal from her condition. Okay? Because intraductal breast cancer is already a disease that comes in the repair phase of the conflict. So you will see many women that have helped to heal from intraductal breast cancer, they heal at the moment I've been able to demonstrate to them they develop the intraductal breast cancer. At the moment they have resolved their conflict of separation with the partner or with the child or with their mother. Okay, so we keep that in mind. So now, as we know, when the repair phase has been completed, the intraductal breast cancer disappeared the way it came. But now if the woman has received the diagnosis that stressed her very much, any stress during that time bring the woman back into the stress phase, and it shortcuts the repair phase. So now that can become a hanging, healing conflict and a stressful moment where it shortcuts the repair phase, and the person can oscillate between repair phase, conflict active phase, repair phase, conflict active phase. Okay, so it's almost like a chronic condition now, and it's more difficult to help to heal at that moment. And on the top of that, if the woman goes through a little surgery, a procedure, if she has also a mastectomy, a lumpectomy, now we touch the integrity of her body. And it is never banal to touch the integrity of the body of a woman. Think about that. All women, since they're very young, they have a sense of aesthetic, a sense of beauty. And they know every square inch of their body, every centimeter square of their body. They know that by heart. And very young, they want to be beautiful. They want to have a pure body with a pure aesthetic. And even when it's time to choose the clothes, they want to have the perfect clothes that match. They want to have the perfect purse with the perfect clothes. So the sense of aesthetic is fantastic. And the sense of aesthetic is recorded in women as a biological code. Why? Because in their mind, as beautiful I am, if I can keep being beautiful, I will attract the perfect partner to create my wholeness and to have my offspring. It's a biological code that is important. So if we touch the integrity of the body of a woman, we mess up with her. This is why from the moment a woman receives a diagnosis of intraductal breast cancer, the best moment to work with her, it is between the moment of the diagnosis and the moment of possible surgery or treatment. Because in recall healing, we never interfere with the medical protocol. We never recommend anything to the woman. We don't talk about chemotherapy, radiation. We leave her in the hand of her medical doctor, which is the most competent person at this moment to help her to heal. But what is good is if she comes to see a recall healing facilitator, our job is to help her to process the emotional trauma, to optimize her chance to heal well, because she's already in repair phase. So we need to make sure that she knows that she's in repair phase. I will give you some examples soon. Okay? So, and then, let's say she goes for the surgery in 3 weeks, 1 month from now. You have 2-3 sessions with her until she goes for the surgery. And if we work well, if we touch the right story, it's quite possible that at the moment of the surgery, she asks her doctor for another checkup. And the doctor, when he processes at the checkup, he says, "Oh, where did it go? That intraductal breast tumor has disappeared." How? How is it possible? Okay? It happens quite often this way, as long as we don't touch the integrity of the breast. Okay? So, and if at the moment of the surgery, the tumor is bigger, if it's more dangerous for a woman, the doctor has all the competence to make the right decision if he has to make a surgery or not. So, as a recall healing facilitator, I don't interfere with that. So it's very important. But I work in harmony with the doctor and with the medical healthcare professional. So now, just to demonstrate, I give you an example. My first client for intraductal breast cancer was a big woman, big Ukrainian woman, big breast, and she has intraductal breast cancer at 3 o'clock on the left side here. What's interesting, she came to see me in Vancouver, and she already saw 6 naturopaths. And her husband didn't want her to come to see me because I was a little guy and I just work on the emotional trauma behind condition and behavior. I don't have any medical protocol to offer. So, okay, but he came with her and he helped her to climb 7 steps and to come into my home where I had my clinic, my office. He sat her down there, and then this guy, I sat him down into the kitchen with 2 newspapers. And then, in a minute, with her, we were already in a story together. We have created a bubble, and then I made her talk. I explained to her recalling the 3-level rocket, the life timeline, the project purpose, and then ask her questions about her life. And then, from the moment we started to talk, she started to cry. She started to unload the drama of her life, the drama with her husband, the drama with her mother, drama with her mother-in-law, sister-in-law, with her children. And suddenly I heard her husband making a lot of noise in the kitchen. And I look at my watch. I spent 2 hours with her it's like 5 minutes. So I gave her an appointment for next week, and I went with her husband outside of the house to wait for her, and we talked. And his wife came walking in a very, very quick pace like that, and he looked at her, he says, "Mary, where's your cane?" And Mary has forgotten her cane beside my office. Why? Because this woman, for the last 1 year and a half, she couldn't walk. The conflict of, she had her knees blocked. And the conflict of the knee is forced obedience, having to bend against an authority. And what is interesting, for these 2 hours, this woman just talked about that. So it unlocked her knee. And then when he saw her feeling better with her knee, he changed his mind about me, and he wanted her to see me another 2 times before the surgery. So she will come back twice. And we find a lot of stories together. I make her talk, she cry again. And the last time she came to see me, she cried. What happened? And then she told me that the day before coming to the appointment, she was preparing jam for her children. This woman, she's 65 years old. She has 4 children that are out of the house, and they have children, so she's a mother and a grandmother. And then when she prepares jam for her and her husband, she always prepares 4 jars of jam for the 4 children. And this guy, her husband, always comes and argues with her that the children should not receive any jam. So he takes them back, and then she's always blocked in her love toward her children because of his behavior, constantly. And what was the peak of her stress before she developed intraductal breast cancer is that she changed her mattress into the bedroom, and she kept the old mattress in case the children come to sleep. And as soon as he knew that she kept the mattress for that purpose, he took the mattress out of the house, and then he didn't want the children to come to live in the house, even if it's for a weekend. And this upset her deeply. Okay? So she would be in that kind of stress with him, and there's a moment where she will calm down. Life goes back to normal, and suddenly she feels a pinch in the following weeks, and that's the moment she will be diagnosed with intraductal breast cancer. Okay, so we cover a lot of ground in 3 sessions, and she will go to the surgery, and just before the surgery she talks to me and ask her, you should have another checkup just before the surgery, just to check if it worked what we did. And then, you know what, 65 years old, Ukrainian woman in Vancouver, Canada. She didn't feel a great value about herself. She didn't dare to ask. So she went for the surgery. And the day after, the surgeon came to apologize because there was nothing left in the ducts. So at that moment, the week after, she called me and to let me know that. And then I told myself, it works. I was surprised, honestly, because I learned that in the books, I learned that with the mentors in the class, but now you need to make it work with your clients in your office. And that was my first experience. And the second experience is another woman who came the same week of the good result with Mary, but the second woman was a corporate coach, very intellectual, very rational, and she just went through a surgery of the breast. She had chemotherapy, and now she came. Why? Because she was in deep fear that it will come back. And then she was so scared. It's amazing how scared she was. So I worked with her. And I did like if she came to see me before the first cancer, and I demonstrated to her that she developed a primary intraductal breast cancer after she resolved a conflict that she went through with her husband. This woman, she loved a man. That man has his apartment. She has her apartment. And then they decided to live together. She quit her apartment to live with him. And she had a constant argument with him about the territory inside of his house. And you know, like me, most women, they feel comfortable in the kitchen. They like to own the kitchen. But this guy is feminine a little bit, and he likes to own his kitchen. So when his wife came to live with him, she likes to organize the kitchen the way she wants. But every time he comes back into the kitchen, and he places everything back the way he likes. She's constant fight with that. This is very stressful for her. And she will go on like this for 6 months. And then he will have to leave Vancouver to go to Los Angeles for 6 months. And then she will miss him during that time. But she will leave her house. She will be in her house comfortable, in her kitchen comfortable. And then he will come back. And then she will go to a peak of stress of separation with him while he's here in the house. Because she cannot be herself in the house when he's there. So she feels torn apart and have constant argument until they have a clear argument, a clear talk about everything. And then for 1 week things are super. And he respects her territory. And they experience a peace, and suddenly they reconnect with each other. They are happy with each other. 2 weeks later, she's diagnosed with intraductal breast cancer. Okay? So once she understood that she didn't catch cancer, she expressed cancer because she was in a stressful feeling of separation with him inside of the house. At that moment, she understood that it came from inside. She was not a victim from something outside. She understood that what all women should understand when they have intraductal breast cancer, that they are not a statistic. They are a story. And we never catch a cancer, we express it. Okay? And we can demonstrate that all over. So that was the second case. But this woman, I needed to work 6 months to help her. She was so scared. The beautiful part of that work with her, she helped me to develop a series of tools to help women to let go some fear, to let go some stress. I tell you stories, why? Because we heal by hearing stories. The stories are very powerful because all of us, men and women, we carry from previous generations conflict of separation. And when we hear these stories, we make connections. Every connection that we make optimize our chances not to have that kind of problem in our life. If we are diagnosed with intraductal breast cancer, what do we need to think of? What is the problem that I went through not long ago? What is the problem of separation that I resolve? Does it involve my mother, my child, my partner, something around my nest? That's the thing that we need to do. Right? So one day we have a client, a woman, she's 33 years old, diagnosed with intraductal breast cancer on the right side. She's right-handed. She's going for a breast removal, at least for surgery, 3 weeks from now. And then when she comes to see me, she's just been diagnosed. So we have maybe 3 weeks to work. Okay? So I will see her 3 times. Let's name her Jane. Jane, when she's 32 years old, her husband came. Jane has 2 children, 6 and 4 years old. When her husband came that night, he told her, Jane, I'm sorry, I'm going to leave you. I never wanted to have children, and I've mistress for 1.5 years. So Jane will, out of the blue, experience that separation from her husband. What's interesting, Jane will right away call her mother because she feels that she's losing it. And mom will call also some girlfriends, and they will come to pay assistance to Jane that night. And you understand that her husband didn't stay there that night. He left right away before they arrived. And then Jane will cry a lot, will be pissed off. And all the girls, the girlfriend, the mother, they will be pissed off at the guy. And Jane will verbalize a lot. And over the following days, Jane will from time to time talk about maybe she has done something wrong to cause this guy wanting to leave her. And the other girl says, Jane, are you crazy? Jane, you're so beautiful. You're an accountant. You take care of the house. You bring the money. You're beautiful. And then you're a good mother. What is wrong with you? You didn't do anything wrong. And then, but in the secret mind of Jane, she needs to find a reason why her husband left her. What he told her is not enough. It's very important, because when a woman goes through the conflict of the breast, when she goes through a conflict with her partner or with her child, most women, since they are young, they live all their life to reach the moment where they will have a partner that will, and you know, women in biology, they don't want to own the territory. They want to meet with a male that owns the territory, and they will feel that they belong to this guy. As they feel they belong to this man, they will feel safe as long as he secures the perimeter, the territory. When a woman has a male that has secured the perimeter, she feels the need to create a home nest where she can have finally her offspring safe. And most women in biology, they dedicate their life for that. So they will give their life for that partner, and they will give their life for the child. And when a problem arises with the partner or with the child, they are not prepared. They know it's possible, but in their heart it's very hard to accept. We say that part, for a woman, it is inconceivable. And when a woman goes through something inconceivable, it's like if she doesn't have in her mind the tools to understand why this happened to her. And that will be very important for the therapist to be aware of that. And the therapist will need to make the woman talk about that part that she finds inconceivable. So Jane here, she finds inconceivable that her husband pulled out like that, out of the nest. And it's unbearable, so she needs to find a reason. What he told her is not enough. So Jane, every night she goes to bed thinking, why did he leave me? And Jane, she goes to bed at night at around midnight, and she's exhausted. But at 1 a.m., 1 o'clock in the morning, she wakes up until 6 a.m. And then she thinks, why did he leave me? What did I do wrong? Certainly I'm not a good woman. Maybe I'm a bitch. Maybe I'm not beautiful enough. But I'm sure I did something wrong, and she cannot find. So she spins that in her mind, and she beats herself up, and she feels highly devalued for what happened. And that part of her, she never talked with her girlfriend. And when it's 6 o'clock in the morning, Jane falls asleep deeply for the last half an hour. And when she wakes up, she's exhausted. And it's like that day after day after day. And one morning, Jane, she wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. So she cannot turn on the light. So she turns around the bed, and she hit the foot of the bed with her foot. And then she's very painful, and she reaches the bathroom like that. She turns on the light, and now she's got scared. Because now in the bathroom, she sees herself in the mirror for the first time in 6 months. The way she is really at this moment, she's scary. She's scared. She has terrible hair, big pocket underneath her eyes. She's lost weight. And then she never seen that so clear, but she's ugly to herself. And she's scared by what she sees in the mirror. And what came into her mind is, oh shit, I'm dying. I'm losing it. My children have already lost a father. In 6 months, he didn't come back. He will never come back. My children can't afford losing a mother. From that moment, it became an evidence to her that this guy will never come back. From that moment, she stops to wait for him. From that moment, she stops to beat herself up and to feel separated from the guy. From that moment, she went forward to build up her life. Okay? 1 month later, okay, she's diagnosed with intraductal breast cancer. Okay? That's the principle. I will see her 3 times. Okay? So she's 33 years old at the moment she makes these connections. Okay? At 32, when the separation with the partner comes, 32, we divide 32 by 2, 16. 16 years old. She experiences a breakup with her first boyfriend. Right? Half of 16, when she's 8 years old, her first lover left her life, her dog. Right? She got a dog when she was 4 years old, and when she's 8 years old, the dog left her life. Right? He never came back, and he never left a note why he left her. Okay? And then when she's 16, she has intercourse with her boyfriend, and then in her mind, this boyfriend is forever. But 3 weeks later, when she goes to school, she saw him hand in hand with another girl in the schoolyard. So she understood that it was finished. But this guy never told her to tell her why he left her. So she had to imagine. And Jane, at 16 years old, every night she went to bed crying. She couldn't disclose that with her mother because she had an intercourse with the guy. It was against her belief, you know. So anyway, Jane, at 32 years old, she experienced the boomerang effect of that. Right? Just between you and me, Jane, when you have 32, you have 16. Between 32 and 16, you have 24. 24 is the age that Jane was when she met with her husband. Curiously, the mother of Jane was 24 years old when she delivered Jane. My point when I tell you that is just to see how much there's a puzzle. And when you use the lifetime line, the project purpose, and the family clan, you can build a puzzle with all the data that helps to find all the elements that we need to help the woman to heal from her intraductal breast cancer that is already a repair phase. But she doesn't know. It belongs to the facilitator to demonstrate to her, to optimize her chance to heal before the surgery. Okay, that's what I could say regarding that case. You know, in United States, there's an important institute that makes research that help many women to heal from all kinds of breast conditions. That institute had a client, a woman, a very famous woman. I don't tell her name because I don't want to expose her. But what's interesting, that woman was diagnosed with intraductal breast cancer. And she was treated by that institute. This woman is sportive. And that institute published a paper around United States, and they said, be careful, women of the world. Because this woman, our client, she developed intraductal breast cancer. You know why? Because she drank a lot of water in plastic bottles. And then, be careful, women of the world. But what's interesting, what is the story of that woman? Yeah, she might have drank water in plastic bottle, like many people who never been ill. Why she developed that? This woman has developed intraductal breast cancer because 2 years before, she has experienced a divorce from her husband. He left her, and it's not nice the way it happened. She was deeply hurt by what happened. And then she needed 2 years to come back to her foot, to come back into life. And then 2 years later, she met a man. And then finally, she can start all over her life with a male. What happened? She went into repair phase. 2 years of microserration of the duct, okay? And then she feels disconnected from the previous partner, wishing that he might come back one day. And now having to grieve that partner. And then now a new partner. I can start all over. Yes, that's the moment the brain triggers the intraductal breast carcinoma to allow the duct to repair from that microserration linked to the separation from the partner. Okay? So that's the demonstration we needed to do with her. Okay? Plastic bottle, my eye. Okay? So I don't see any scientific evidence here. Okay? But you can demonstrate that most women of the world who have developed intraductal breast cancer went through a conflict of separation in their life. And if you don't find it, it's because you have nothing to do in therapy. Okay? 100% of the cases. And if it's not the woman herself, study what happened during the project purpose when the mother was pregnant. And you don't find anything there, study 3 generations above with the women that are linked with the mother, with the woman who has developed that intraductal breast cancer. It's very important to do. Sometimes you work with a woman, she's diagnosed with intraductal breast cancer, and then you think you're going to discover something, and you're looking for one direction, and you find nothing, and you think it doesn't work. Is it because it doesn't work, or it's because it's you who doesn't see the right thing? Right? I question that. Okay? For example, I helped one day a woman, she's a right-hander, and she has intraductal breast cancer on the left side here. And this woman is 57 years old, and she retired at 55 years old. So this woman, for 30 years, she was at the head of 25 girls in a department where they proceed to the emission of tickets for an airplane company. So this woman, for 30 years, she will have these girls underneath her command, and they go for lunch from time to time, they give a gift, and she will have a mother-daughter relationship with them. And at 55, she retires. So, and then at 57, she's diagnosed with intraductal breast cancer. Some people can say maybe she's already in the repair phase of the separation with these girls that she mothered, and like she was a mother for. It's what I thought at first. And then I went into her story. She's from Taiwan, China. And what's interesting, this woman, the time she worked until 55, she has a brother and a sister who took care of her parents. This woman, for 30 years, never took care of her parents. And you know, in China, when you retire, you have time, you have free time, so you can take care of your parents. So what's interesting now, this woman, from the moment she got retired, both her parents, father and mother, came to live with her. You know, for her mother, she's about 73, 74 years old, okay? Maybe a little bit more. But you know, Chinese women, Chinese mother, even 75 years old, when she talked to her daughter, 55 years old, for the mother, she's still her daughter. She's still a child, okay? So now, it's natural for the mother to control her child, even if it's the house of her child. And in China, in Chinese, there's a sign of unhappiness. It's one roof with 2 women under the same roof, right? So you cannot have 2 alpha women happy under the same roof. So my client, that woman, 55 years old, from the moment that her mother came to live with her father, she started to be in a fight with her mother. Fight mode, constant. So my client felt totally torn apart inside of her home nest. Which body part is triggered? The ducts. Okay? I feel separated from my mother. And then, at 56, she met a man. Finally, my client was a woman, single woman. At 56, she met a man, and at 56 years old, in 3 months, he proposed. As soon as he proposed, she left her house and she went to live with him. Yeah? And when did start intraductal breast cancer? A little bit after, she started to live her life with him. Okay? She reconnected with herself. She got in harmony with her mother because now she is not in the same perimeter anymore. Right? This is what we discover. Okay? Sometimes you discover a first story and it doesn't produce any result in the healing, and so you wonder maybe it doesn't work. But sometimes it is complementary with another story. So make sure that you build a puzzle, you consider everything, okay? The last case I would like to share with you for intraductal breast cancer, it's, I have a colleague, he's a medical doctor in Reno, Nevada. He has a client, a woman, that does not respond to the chemotherapy protocol the first months. She has intraductal breast cancer, and he worries for her. So he says, Gilbert, can you talk to her? So I will talk with her one session. So we are in October. She got diagnosed early September with intraductal breast cancer on the right side. So, and when I talk with her, she says, I don't understand. At the end of August, my husband and my 2 children, we had the most beautiful holidays of our life. And she's diagnosed at the end of September. What do you conclude? She has a good moment at the end of August. Intraductal breast cancer came as a repair phase after that good moment. So what do we need to do now is to demonstrate to her she has resolved the problem. But what was the problem? So let's go from August backward to November, the year before. In November, her husband lost his job. He didn't tell her not to worry her. In December, he found a new job in another company. Everything is right, everything is normal, but she will never know about that. In February, she goes to Costco in States, which is a big surface, big grocery store, and as she shops, she meets another woman who is the wife of the colleague of her husband in the previous company where he was fired. And that woman says to my client, how's your husband? So she wonders why another woman wants to know about her husband. She said, my husband is fine. Why do you ask that? Because you know, since he got fired from that company. What? So she will hear from another woman that her husband was fired in November, and then she knows she doesn't know. How it is integrated in the psyche of a woman? Oh, I feel totally separated and torn apart with my partner. He doesn't tell me things, he doesn't talk to me. So that night in February, when he comes back from work, there's gonna be a storm in the house, a big argument, and she will feel more separated from him. And then March, April, she cannot forgive him. May, June again. July, a little bit better. But in August, we have the most beautiful holidays of our life, a reconciliation with a partner. After holidays, a repair phase. Okay, intraductal breast cancer. So I have her for one session, and I give her a session for next week. Next week, I call her for the session. She says, we don't need the session, because yesterday my test revealed that the tumor is completely gone. Okay, so the conclusion of our story here in recall healing is from the best time for a woman to work the emotional trauma behind a breast condition is before any medical treatment, is before any surgery. From the moment she received the diagnosis, if she could work on the emotional trauma, it's possible that the tumor, that the disease has improved or disappeared before the surgery. And if it didn't, at least the surgery can happen in order to optimize the chance of the woman to survive. Okay? So finally, the best, any time is good. It's a good time to talk with a woman to help her to resolve the problem. But the best, what I've observed, is between the moment of the diagnosis and the moment of the treatment. So, and in conclusion, it's the same thing for women than for men. When a problem arises, we need to talk, and we need to talk about the right thing. And in recall healing, it's what we do. We try to make the woman talk about the right thing, so to allow herself to break her isolation, to break the silence, and to help her to reconnect so she can understand why she has that. And we heal when we understand why we became ill. We don't need to know how to get ill to be ill. All what we need to know is, how did I get ill? What happened? And the brain does the process in the body. So thank you, and I wish you to talk about the right thing. Thank you.